telephones and cease private conversations. We'll begin by having our members and ex officio members introduce themselves, beginning on my left.
Ray Casano.
Shahab Emrani.
Festus Porbeni.
Paris Morphopoulos.
Keenan Kinsel.
Caitlin Jamo.
Tara Nowitzki.
Frank Hibbard.
Mark Bunker.
Very good. So we'll move on to the item to approve the minutes of the January 13th, 2021 meeting. Is there anyone that would like to request any corrections? All right. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes from that meeting. Do we have a motion? Okay, you have to state the motion.
I state the motion to approve the minutes.
Very good.
Second.
Caitlin seconds the motion. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Very good. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
It's approved. Okay, now we'll move on to citizens to be heard regarding items not on the agenda. Your comments are invited, but must be limited to matters that are relevant to the downtown. Comments on items on the agenda will be held until the agenda item. Any speakers must identify themselves, and there will be a time limit of 3 minutes that will be enforced. Are there any citizens that would like to address the board? Very good. Please come up and introduce yourselves.
Good evening.
Good evening. We're not here to ask for money tonight.
Wow.
Scott Sousa, Clear Sky, and DCMA.
Carolyn Bradham, DCMA. So we just wanted to thank you so much for all the support that you gave us, especially through the holiday season. We got our first round of money from you guys, and that has been dispersed. We have happy campers, and we've been able to do so much with that. I just have to tell you. I wanted to give you just a quick update. We're going to come back next month with a more detailed report for you on all the things that we've done. But I think you should know that through the holiday season, from like Thanksgiving all the way through New Year's, we had a fantastic turnout downtown. Our own restaurants had their own individuals, but just collectively there was just a fantastic, it was the holiday festival down there, wasn't it? We had people coming from the beach. We had all sorts of great things
Bel Air
happening.
Bluffs, Harbor Bluffs,
Yeah.
Island Estates, people from Dunedin, people that had not been downtown in a long time. So it was, every event that we had, people thoroughly enjoyed themselves, and we're building friends in the community.
Absolutely. So we did complete our 4th Sip and Stroll this January. That was our highest attendance. We had over 90 people there. Definitely people coming back from the earlier ones. We have people putting the 3rd Saturday on their calendar, and they're not just coming down for the Sip and Stroll. They're staying and having dinner. Like if you come down around 7 o'clock and you walk through downtown, you'll see those little wine cups sitting on tables all up and down both of those blocks. So that's been really, really well done. We had our first paid sponsor for January. That was Michelle Chenault from Coldwell Banker. We've got sponsors lined up all the way through May right now. So that's starting to build up for us a little revenue generator, right?
So those sponsorships are, initially they're $1,000, and by May they're switching to $1,500 a month for each sponsorship. So
Wow.
we are following up on trying to help build our own equity, and so we can put
Right.
money in the bank.
I have to tell you, I think one of the things that we are actually most excited about is a little program that we're calling Dine Out to Make a Difference. We're doing this on the last Thursday of every month, and all of the participating restaurants are taking 10% of their sales from like 4 o'clock forward, and they're donating it to a local charity. So we started this in December, and our first charity was Salvation Army. It was tornado weather out there. I was surprised we got anyone coming in, but we were able to donate over $800 to them as our first start. So we were kind of happy about that. We had our second one in January, and that went to an organization in the Tampa Bay called SAFE. And what they do is they provide housing and services for people who have been rescued from human trafficking here in the Tampa Bay area. So we are still collecting on that one, and we'll be giving them a check here in the next week. But again, what do we have this time? Sleet and freezing cold. But I have to say, the mayor and his beautiful wife still came out. They did it the first time as well. And they go to every single restaurant that's participating. And we all get social distance selfies with our restaurant sign and the mayor and his wife. So we really thank you for that, Mayor. It really contributes to the whole event. It's been fantastic. So we just finished that one. We already have all the way up through, I think, May. Coming up, maybe April. Here's what we have coming up. In February, Black History Month, we're going to be donating to the Clearwater Urban Leadership Coalition. It's a local group here that the city has worked with as well, so that's going to be our charity of choice. In March, we're going to be donating to a little group called the Clearwater Free Dental. And what they do is they provide free dental services for people who do not have insurance or who have needs for that. They have one stipulation. You just pay what you can afford. It could be $5, it could be $50, but they have a group of dentists that come in pro bono and do that for people here. So they've been working in our community for a while, and actually one of my customers told me about them, so we reached out and they were just thrilled to work with us. We have also coming up in April, I'm sure you know, the Capitol Theater is going to be 100 years old in March. And so in April, we've made them our charity of choice, and we are going to be having that money go to sponsor their scholarships that they give for some of their youth programs that they do through the Ruth Eckerd Hall and Capitol Theater. So just wanted to give you a quick update. We've got more news coming for you next month. Be prepared. You're going to get a thick docket of information you're going to love. But things are going fantastic, and I just have to say, the perception downtown continues to evolve, and the overall thing is what a great community you have. What a fantastic idea. We are getting so many more local people coming and saying, oh, I heard about you from so-and-so. Oh, I saw you in the newspaper. So many things, right? So thank you again, and we'll be back next month with a full report for you guys.
Great.
We also have one last thing that we're doing as well, and we forgot to talk about this. We're working at educating some of the merchants downtown as well, because some of these are small businesses, and sometimes there are language barriers, sometimes people just don't have an understanding of, marketing and different things. So we have, in conjunction with the CDP, our first foray into this is doing it via Zoom, but for the next round of PPP loans that are available, having a banker there online explaining who's eligible, how you can go about it, what you need to do, and guide people through it. So we want education to be a big part of what we're doing as part of the community.
Right. Well, thank you. This is very good news. I'm glad you came to present this to us, and we're glad to see that it's having the effects that you were hoping for.
It's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
We appreciate you guys
Yes,
so much.
thank you all.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other comments from anyone? Okay. Well, thank you very much. We'll see you next month.
Thanks.
Okay, are there any other citizens to be heard?
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Ted Reinhardt, RANHRD, Clearwater resident. I represent Cult City Tours. We're actually a new player downtown. A little bit about us. We are a majority African-American, woman, Muslim owned and operated company. We've got over 80 years combined of tourism experience around the world. We are also Clearwater residents. And since international travel is running slow, we got this crazy new idea. We're going to start running tours of downtown Clearwater. So far, so good. We literally just went live yesterday, and we're projecting about 20 people a tour, 3 tours a week, 60 people a week. So we're talking hundreds a month. So not too bad. And that's right now. We're still looking at staff as things grow and all that. But I wanted to show up, say that we're here, and say that we would love to be a partner with the Downtown Development Agency. I used to work with Florida Main Street for years, assistant coordinator. And one of the things that I learned was it's not just government, it's not just business, it's everybody getting together, and I want to participate in it. If there's an event, if there is something going on, we're happy to schedule tours and bring people downtown before it. If there's an event, we'd be happy to run tours for free during it to keep them there. It's about keeping people there, keeping them spending money, and keeping them downtown. A lot of what we're doing is demystifying downtown. We're encouraging people to come out. We got most of our reservations are actually locals right now. We've got people from Newport Richey, Tampa, Sarasota coming up, and they're coming downtown to spend money, which is fantastic. They're walking with us for a mile, about an hour and a half. And, the tours are affordable. They're around $10, so it's not that bad. But it's what they'll do afterwards. We start at 10 o'clock. We're done around 11:30. just in time for lunch. And as we walk along, we actually recommend coffee shops and restaurants and all that too. But I just want to say we are here. We're online. If there's anything we can do for you, any way we can partner with you, please feel free to reach out. We're happy to help. All right? Any questions?
This is great, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's move on. December 2020 financial statement. Is there a presentation on it?
Yes, it's going back.
Good evening, Amanda Thompson, CRA Director. The CRA staff is woefully short tonight, so I apologize you're having to hear from me more. Your 2020 financial statement, so these are the funds that were spent in December. Remember, we're always running a month behind in closing out our accounting. And the total amount was $406,000, a little bit over that. The bulk of that was the CRA increment payment. Remember, the money comes in, the money goes out. And then the rest of that you see here, the DCMA special event grant, holiday lighting, some of your legal fees, tax collector commissions, property appraiser commissions. Any questions?
I have a question. The $340,088 is the tax increment funding that's expected for the entire year that comes in and goes to you guys and then comes back to us.
Correct.
The total is $401,909, which is all the properties in the downtown that are paying that 0.97 mils, right?
Where are you seeing the 409?
Line 10, like the first line in the adopted budget, above the 340.
Next page.
Oh, no, I'm looking at page 1. Oh,
Let me go back here. So remember, what's in your budget is going to be an estimate, and then as the actual receipts come in, there's going to be an adjustment.
right,
So, and then we true it all up at the end of the fiscal year.
right. But the question that I have is, if the estimate is 401 and the tax increment is 340, that, if my math is right, that leaves only about a 61K differential. That didn't seem to make sense to me.
Well, that's just showing what we've collected, what we've received so far from the city and county.
Okay, it's not what we expect, it's what we've received.
Correct.
Okay. 'Cause
Right,
it's
we don't get all the payments necessarily all at once.
Okay. Okay, because it's under what the budget is, it's not under what's actually happened.
Right, so I mean, I'll go back and look, from the county tax collector, you know, how much we've been paid to date, but you have what our estimate is there at the beginning, and then when we get enough of a payment that we do charge an increment. And then that's showing the difference right now, but we're still only, about October, November, December. We're still in the first quarter of the fiscal year.
Sure.
So there's time for that 61 to be adjusted.
People can pay early and get a discount. They don't always choose to do so.
Right. Yeah. The only reason it caught my attention was that it didn't look like what had been collected so far. It looked like it's under the column of what the budget is, like what we're totally expecting to receive altogether. That doesn't seem like it's correct. Like the delta between 61K and what it's traditionally been is significant, I think. You understand what I'm saying?
I do,
Okay.
and I guess the best answer that I would have right now is there's a lot of guesstimating because we don't know the impact of COVID. So that's probably gonna be a larger number than what it would typically be because this is an atypical,
Okay, so
2
you're,
fiscal years.
so you're aware of what it is then?
I mean, not directly the specific example, but in general, how we're looking at budgeting. I guess I would say I'm not concerned about it,
Okay.
but I can talk with Monica.
All right, it just wouldn't, so we get based upon the valuations, but we're still in the VAB period where there's VAB hearings going on in terms of valuations that would determine the exact number we would get. So I don't know that all of that would have even been determined at this point, because I think the VAB notice went out like, I think it's October, November, and then there's a period of time where property owners can challenge their valuation, and then there's a VAB hearing, and I think we're still in that period of time, so that 401 number may change based upon the actual total amount that's valued.
Well,
And there
it
also
would
may be a
just seem that it
holdback.
would be in the wrong column then, because the year-to-date should be the number that's changing as receipts come in. And the 401, it says what our budget is or what we expect to receive altogether. And that number really should be subject to adjustment, but it's what we expect to receive based on,
Proposed amended budget.
yeah.
And Amanda, if I'm correct, you're adding to that column K, right? That's where the numbers as we receive funds are getting added to that number. So that is
Correct.
the column that's changing, not column C. It's column K that's changing.
Right, column C will stay the same until we do a revised budget, which would happen, we'll do an amended or a revised budget in September as we have a better idea of, did people challenge their property value? How many people actually paid their taxes? When did they pay their taxes?
Okay. Then I'm just curious what that number would have been, that 61K number, like the delta between the increment and the larger number, what that delta was like 5 years ago.
Okay, well, I'd have to research.
Yeah.
I do not have that
Because it
memorized.
seems to have shrunk substantially, and I don't really understand why.
And I think we'll continue to receive more as the property values are confirmed. So that delta will get smaller. This is just what we've received year to date.
No, I don't want that delta to get smaller, it should get bigger.
Delta should get smaller, that means we have more money.
We're closer to what we thought we were gonna get. If that parentheses
If we're
shrinks,
talking about
but-
the same
But
thing.
you're saying you'd like to get more than what we adopted.
No, I'm thinking that line 10, which says 402,000, and then line 13 says the increment that's due to property taxes that have changed since the DDB was created. Well, that number traditionally has been more than 61,000, so why is it so much smaller now than it used to be?
So now I'm confused what you're mixing up between line 13 and line 10.
Okay, well, line 10 is, if I'm, this is just my assumption on what's going on. You can point out my error here, because there probably is one, but I'll just explain what I'm thinking, and then you can poke holes in it. I think the line 10 says, out of all the property in the district, at current property values and current assessments, this is how much we're expecting to collect.
Correct.
And out of that, 340,000 is the amount that's a tax increment over what the tax base was 30, 40 years ago when the DDB was created.
Correct.
So that means that if the CRA wasn't giving us back that 340,000, our budget would be $61,000.
That is correct.
Okay, that seems like a much smaller number than it used to be. It
Okay.
just seems odd.
I'd have to go back and.
Yeah, that's
and
what I would like to check,
Yeah.
to see what was it 5 years ago and why is it different today? It has a bunch of property that was taxed come off the tax rolls, or has something else changed? Because our base seems to be diminishing.
Good catch.
That's what I do. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, are there any citizen comments on the financial statement? Okay, I'd like to request a motion for adopting the December financial statement.
I move we adopt the
December.
December financial statement.
Very good. Do we have a second? Very good. We have a second, Shahab. And now, is there any board discussion on this? All right.
With the asterisk based on what you just asked, if there needs to be an adjustment.
Okay. Well, we'll
Yeah,
find
we'll-
out first.
we'll let you know if there's
We'll
been
just
an
find out
accounting
if there
error.
is something there. Yes.
An outstanding question. You all might want to table this for the next meeting? Or do you want to approve it with that question pending?
I,
I mean,
I'm thinking that I'm not suggesting that it's an error. I'm just asking for a clarification to be made to
if
me.
you're not suggesting that it's there, then
Yeah. All I'm asking is for somebody to explain where my thinking is incorrect.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. It's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we have a special event funding request for Clearwater Jazz Holiday in the amount of $30,000. And Amanda, you're going to take that for us? Or?
Yes. So we received a funding request from Clearwater Jazz Holiday to produce 5 live music events in Station Square Park during late February, beginning February 20th through March 13th. And they've asked for covering the production costs at $15,000 and a sponsorship for $15,000 for a total of $30,000. The total event cost to Clearwater Jazz Holiday is $75,000 and will generate 1,000 guests, 200 people per event. And the way that this is set up, this is a replica of what we did during Holiday Extravaganza, and the CRA partnered with Jazz Holiday to give them a grant. We commissioned them to do this concert series just to see how it would work, right? Would the public be responsive? Could we keep it compliant with COVID health standards? How would the sound even work? And the CEO is here to provide more information, but I'll just say that staff recommends funding the whole series. We are supportive of the request. You have 2 options from where you could pay for it out of your special events grant line item, or the Station Square, or Jazz Holiday typically would come for you for a downtown party. There's a line in your budget for $2,500 for that they would do with the big festival, which wouldn't occur until the next fiscal year anyway in October if it does happen. I will say the only downside to this, if there is one, is that they are sold as a table of 4. So you cannot, as an individual, purchase one $25 ticket. If that's the price, it has to be sold as a table. And reason being is because you would attend this with people that are in your pandemic pod, right? You wouldn't be sitting next to strangers with your mask off, where we would assume. That does have that limitation, but from our perspective, we're trying to find ways to keep providing experiences in downtown, knowing that it's not going to be what we usually do, which is thousands of people free of charge. Because that's just not possible right now. So with that, I'd ask Steve to come up and give you a little bit more background info, can answer questions, and happy to answer any other questions.
Will this already start playing? Okay, great. So we had the team put together a little promo from some of our promotional materials so you can kind of get a flavor of what we did last year. But it feels good to be in the same room with live people. So hello, everyone. Good evening. Nice to see you all. Thank you again for this opportunity to make this funding request. It was amazing. The Station Square events that were part of our Wanderlust music series was really great. Nearly all of them sold out, and all of our table pods were filled. And I know a number of you had an opportunity to come firsthand and see the events. So we appreciate that support from those of you that could make it. So let me give you a little bit about background about this. This music series was born out of the pandemic. We didn't know until around the summertime that the full-scale tradition of Jazz Holiday, which would have been in its 41st year, needed to be canceled. And we had various contingent strategies to deal with that throughout the year. Out of those strategies came
what we have branded now as the Wanderlust, CJH Presents Wanderlust Music Series. And it's a series of small-scale, open-air events that take place at different venues throughout the city. 5 of them took place at Station Square Park, and that's the subject of this funding request. But in a 2-month period of when Jazz Holiday would have occurred in that third weekend of October, so we're talking October 15th through like December 19th, I think it was, we produced 18 events across 5 different venues and supported 32 different musical ensembles. Nearly all of them sold out. We were on private beaches, we were on rooftops, we were in urban squares, which is the subject of this event, and it was something that was really special. It enabled us to create an opportunity in a safe way to unite the Clearwater jazz community around our tradition in a year where our largest program service, which as you know supports much more than a 4-day event, it supports year-round education and outreach activities. So it created a platform to give people something to do in an environment that they were comfortable in. The other events that occur on beaches also are done in a sort of a pod way where you buy lounge chairs, or if it's on the rooftop, tables, and it's very much like an outside restaurant kind of vibe. Station Square we transformed during the holiday extravaganza into a really wonderful bistro setting. We call it the Backstage Bistro Sessions. And people could come, they purchase a table, and when they come in, the only reason you really need to get up once you're in is to use the restroom, because there's table service that's brought to you. It was an opportunity for downtown merchants to participate. We had at least 2 every night. Claire Sky and Carolyn's were steadfast, almost always there, but there is opportunity to engage more, and many patrons also came and purchased, like for instance, a few nights I would bring some Thai food in and bring it to my table with the guests that I was there with that night. And so other people who didn't want to sample whatever the menu was that night did that. So not only was it an opportunity to really help the Clearwater Jazz Holiday Foundation in these challenging times, but it was an opportunity to highlight downtown as an exciting destination. The music was incredible. It was intimate but spaced out. And it was an opportunity for downtown merchants to participate and also benefit. So with volunteers that worked the events and the patrons that came, we had around 140 to 160 people on each of the Saturday nights that this occurred. And we anticipate the same thing happening. We have programmed our 2021 Wanderlust music series now all throughout the entire year, and it's going to go on sale this weekend. And hopefully, if this request is approved, the 5 Station Square weekends that we have will be part of that. The first one occurring on February 20th. That's 2 weeks away. But we have all the music set. There's 2 acts on every night in any Wanderlust event that we do from 6 to 9. And there's always a special touch. We usually have a food partner that provides a welcome tasting that's complimentary. And then you have the opportunity to buy beer or wine at the events. And they were fantastic. I hope you had a chance. We only did a little 1-minute video there, but you could see the little bistro tables are nicely decorated. And it was a really wonderful way of activating Station Square Park. And we're excited to do it again. And like I said, everything's in place. I can't say enough about the support that we got from the CRA. And working with you, Amanda, I dare to say I felt like it was easy, you know, when we looked at done, but it took a while. Once it was in place, it ran itself, and we put the old, you know, Jazz Holiday special touch on it, and we're excited to do it again in what will be our 42nd year. We do plan to have a Clearwater Jazz Holiday in October. In light of the Imagine Clearwater construction, we're probably going to be announcing in a couple of weeks a temporary venue that Clearwater Jazz, an exciting temporary venue that Clearwater Jazz Holiday will be in its 42nd year. But until that happens, we'll have a year's worth of this activity to lift up the tradition. So we thank you for your consideration, and I'm happy to field any questions that you might have.
I noticed in the presentation that the estimated turnout over the course of the 5 events is about 1,000 people. Is that,
That's correct. We have the capacity, usually, like I said, there's about 160 people per event when you factor in the volunteers that come, and we're probably going to be adding a few other tables in the Station Square Park area. Last year, I think we went with 35 tables of 4, and we have capacity, I think, to add more. And so we're anticipating with those additional tables that we'll have about 200 people total each time we do this.
go ahead, Keenan.
Is the funding for this proposal just the 5 events, or does it spread into the other Wanderlust?
Yeah, the funding for this proposal is focused on sponsoring the 5 Station Square events in downtown. Yep.
Okay, and the half of the funding is to go towards the events, and half of it is a charitable donation?
That's correct. We set up this as a marketing and special event grant with half of the 30,000 earmarked towards supporting operational expenses to produce the events, and the other half is built in as a sponsorship of the foundation and the Station Square event.
Okay. Anyone else have?
I'm just curious, how does this get promoted or marketed?
So we have a marketing operations, longtime marketing and operations consultant that's worked with Jazz Holiday for years, and he puts pretty comprehensive marketing plans together around what we do. We rely in great part on digital marketing for the Station Square and Wanderlust series, and so we have a big a presence on Facebook and Instagram, and work with the CRA to get the word out.
Right, I mean, over the years, I know it's been successful.
Yeah, I mean, and we, like I said, almost all of the Wanderlust events were sold out, so we know that the word is getting out, people were coming out, and it felt really wonderful. And I know I mentioned it before, but it has felt part of what we do is to support the music community in the Bay Area, and no one is performing, or no one was performing. People are starting to perform again. The opportunity for most of these mostly local bands to get up in front of people, you could feel it. You could feel how special it was for them to do that again and to create that platform. So when you are supporting these types of things, know that you're supporting that, but you're also enabling the foundation to do everything else that we do during the year, which is the education and outreach programming.
Go ahead, Kenan.
I walked by every night that you did them. I thought they were fantastic. It filled the streets with beautiful music. I just would have one request. If we could coordinate with the city to possibly move the RV of porta potties somewhere besides by the fountain, maybe back around the corner. Other than that, I think it's fantastic. I'm downwind of that, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Noted.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay. Are there any citizen comments? Okay, thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much for your consideration.
Okay, now I'd like to have a motion. Can someone make a motion regarding this event?
I'll make a motion. We should, a motion to approve this proposal for the Wanderlust series.
Second.
Okay, so it's made by Keenan and seconded by Caitlin.
Third and fourth.
Okay, now do we have any discussion? Anyone want to say anything? Okay, I just want to make a couple of comments. One is I attended one of the Wanderlust events, and I was very pleased to see that it was sold out and very well attended and very nicely put on, considering it was a chilly evening. So I think it's a great thing that the Jazz Holiday is doing and has been doing for many years. The Ddb have been long time supporters of Jazz Holiday, going back, I don't know, decades probably. I have a couple of considerations about it that I just want to throw out there just because it's on my mind. One is that traditionally the Ddb were the custodians of this particular fund of money, and I haven't really felt it to be our purpose to make charitable donations to other groups. I thought it was to strictly stay within the purpose of the Ddb for things that specifically enhance the objectives of the Downtown Development Board. So I'm a little uncomfortable with making a sizable donation to something that's not directly, that doesn't directly address the goals of the Ddb. The other point that I wanted to make is, in the past we have tried to correlate the degree of funding with the number of people that it will put, the feet on the street that it will bring to downtown. And the size of this request is about $30 a head. which is, at the extreme upper end of anything we've done before. So in the past, we have quailed at targets of $15 per head and given as little as $3 or $5 for many, many events, like for Blast Friday and so on. So to spend $30 for 1,000 people to come to downtown, I don't know if that's the best use of the DDB's money, especially when half of it is a charitable donation. Having said all that,
That's understood. I mean, $30 is a chunk, but circumstances are not normal, my opinion. Normally would be, if we didn't have the pandemic issue, how many people do you think we'd be having?
So in a time when
In a normal year.
yeah, in a normal year when we bring between 30 and 40,000 people to a festival over a 4-day weekend, you have significant presence down here. I would encourage this board to think of the grant as a special event and marketing request as opposed to a charitable donation. I raise that fact that when you support the foundation, you are supporting a great cause, but it is set up as a marketing grant too, and for those benefits, downtown does get promoted significantly on our Wanderlust webpage, where everyone goes to learn about everything Jazz Holiday, as well as the special announcements at the event and the logos that we put out in our marketing. So part of that is a marketing initiative from the downtown using Jazz Holiday's marketing channels to highlight it as a destination. So it may be a distinction without merit, but I think it's important to note that charitable contribution versus marketing initiative.
Mm-hmm.
I think, Mr. Chairman, I think this
Okay.
is just to help them tie over. Hopefully next year will be a bigger
Mhm.
one. Do you guys do other type of music also? Because jazz is a segment of it.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that. So if you have been a patron at Jazz Holiday over the years, you have seen it evolve into something more akin to a New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival that features a lot of good jazz, but a lot of good everything else. So there's a funk, there's rock and roll, there's Americana, there's blues, particularly at the headline levels. It's just the mission of the foundation is to celebrate and promote the art form of jazz through the educational programs we have. So the more diverse the lineup is, the more people come, and the more we're able to get back into the community. And similarly, the music we do throughout the Wanderlust series mirrors that. So while you will note the February 20th event features a wonderful jazz collective, the ensuing weekends have music that are blues and Americana and folk rock and smooth jazz and funk and everything in between, and that's true for the entire series. So it really attracts a diverse audience, just like our festival would, and that's something that's special to Jazz Holiday.
Great, thank you,
Sure.
Steve. Yeah, I'm not attempting to rain on the Jazz Holiday. I just felt it incumbent to raise those issues because I just felt it was my duty to mention those, just so everyone considers those.
Can I add a point?
Yes, go ahead.
I mean, it makes sense to look at the $30 per head or whatnot, but there's also collateral marketing that I would assume would occur with an event like this where you may be buying Rolls-Royce heads, where they're coming the people that are aficionados of this type of music are going to come, they're going to experience the beautiful live music downtown and then talk about it to others. So that may spin off into, one person could spin off into 5 or 10. I don't know if you have any numbers on that, but.
No, I don't, other than it's sort of in its infancy, and so we're trying to track who's coming, why, who's repeat. I don't have that information to present, only to say we know that the venue was packed every time we did it. So we have every reason to believe that will continue.
Very good. Well, with those caveats, I'm willing to support whatever the board wants to do. I just wanted to put it out there for consideration. Did you have a comment, sir?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I just want to say, first of all, the Wanderlust concerts were magnificent. We brought some people who had not been to downtown in many, many years. They enjoyed it. I was still dealing with my back, so I only watched the first set. They stayed the entire time, and then they went to dinner afterward. I think one of the goals for the city of Clearwater is to have diversity of events, have certain events that are free, obviously for people that don't have means, but also, to the point that was made, we also want to bring some people in that have a lot of disposable income. I would also add that, you know, Steve and Jazz Holiday are marketing to an enormous group. And even if they don't come and avail themselves of one of the concerts, they're starting to understand that there are things going on all the time. Steve and I were talking before, and I said, you know, on a weekend when you're only having one performance, I'm hoping that they will hook up with the Florida Orchestra, because there's infrastructure that will be in place, and maybe we can bring, to Mr. Amrani's point, another whole group to downtown and have this diversity of different types of performances. And I know Steve is always a great partner in our community, so he already has an email hooking some people up in the last couple minutes from me. But I think there's just synergies, and I believe this is a good investment.
Good. I think that was an excellent point, that your marketing is to a much wider field than what actually turns up at the tables. So, that being said, is there any other questions for Caitlin?
I'll just comment two things. One, this serves to fund music education, which a lot of the programs that exist specifically addressed within our county are addressed and benefit our downtown corridor. And then secondly, I just want to highlight that this is in Station Square. A couple of years ago, that was a huge topic where we were trying to pull events and we were trying to pull people down to Station Square. And here is a beautiful event that's occurring within that specific area that we were having trouble trying to have events and recurring events and drawing people into.
Excellent point. Tara?
My question is, will it be sponsored by the Downtown Development Board?
Yeah, so part of the part that's earmarked for sponsorship will be sponsoring these Station Square events. And so we will work with you to make sure that the Downtown Development Board logo is part of the collateral. There's banners at the event and other perks that we can talk about. And Gary Hallis, our marketing and operations consultant, I know works closely with several of you and has been talking with Howard as well. So yes, the answer to that is that part, that marketing part is part of it.
Very good. Okay, I think we're ready. Okay, all in favor? Or,
Aye.
whoa, we actually don't have, do we have a?
Yeah, we already motioned
Yes,
and seconded,
We have a
yeah.
motion. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous.
Thank you so much for your
Congratulations.
support. We look
Yeah.
forward to seeing you all down there, and we will begin selling tickets. The first one's in 2 weeks.
Invite the board members, but charge them double.
Thank you again, everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Okay, now we're moving on to item 5.1, the Ddb Marketing Update. Rosemary?
Evening, everyone. Rosemary Demore, CRA's Public Relations and Programs Manager. So we had a really productive conversation last month going through the DDB's marketing and advertising efforts for 2020 and into 2021 and 2022. And there were a few questions that came up on ways that the city assists in promoting things that are happening in downtown and ways that we could use the city's channels to promote activities from the DDB. And one of the things that came up was Sunshine Lines, which is the city's mailer that goes with the utility bills to going to people who get Clearwater gas and water. This is an example of Sunshine Lines that goes in folks' mailboxes every month. And so you see we can do very targeted and specific content that we can draft for this, which we usually try to include something on downtown every month. We try to stick with evergreen content because the deadlines for these are usually due a month or two in advance. So things like enjoying outdoor dining in downtown with the road closure, if there are specific events, if we have jazz holiday events happening throughout downtown and Station Square Park, these are all things that we can target through here. So just wanted to provide you with a bit of an overview of what this actually looks like in practice and how long the kind of lead time is to get those things drafted. But we are working with our city's public communications team to keep these things regularly updated for you. So that was one element. And then the second part that came up was an actual deliverable for you, that you guys were interested in doing, which is a mailer to residents and property owners, just informing them of the DDB's practices, budget items, and then also kind of introducing you guys to folks. And we have a workable draft to present to you tonight. I sent this to you all via email yesterday, so if you had a chance to take a look, great. If not, we're going through it now. And so big feedback from you guys tonight. Number one, if there's items or information that you think is missing from this that you'd like us to include, it is 2 pages, it'll be front and back that we go through. And then secondly, how comfortable you are with having your personal information listed on here. All of this information is already listed at myclearwater.com, so if we take it off, people will still be able to find it, but if you don't want to include it on this mailer, that's something that we can talk about. Secondly, the call to action for this. We've left this kind of open-ended here because I wanted to get feedback from you all in this conversation. Do we want to be encouraging folks to take a survey, to participate in a specific event? Is there any type of call to action that you guys would like to discuss in person here, or would you like us to kind of draft that and present it to you potentially at the next meeting? And then the last portion of this is actually the process of mailing it, right? So this would be about a 2-week lead time. We would run through the county's printers. The cost for this would not exceed $5,000 to send to about 16,000 people throughout downtown. And that is within the CRA's director purview to authorize that kind of payment under $5,000 amount. So if you guys are good with the general layout for this and we come up with a call to action that works for you, then we can proceed and get this mailed out in the next couple of weeks. Or we can come back at the next meeting if you guys want to do that as well.
So first, I'd like to congratulate you on, it's a very appealing piece, and it's something that I think's been needed and wanted for a long time. And it kind of takes us out of being non-existent in the minds of the community, that we're actually here. So we've been kind of invisible for many years, and this kind of lets people know who we are and what we're trying to do.
I would really like to give a shout out to, if she's watching, Emily Johnson in the city's public communications department, who actually designed this for us.
Okay,
So,
I think it's very nicely done. It's very attractive and has a lot of very good information. Does anyone else have a question or a comment? For the call to action, I would solicit anybody that has an idea. My idea would be to ask them to, if the recipients would like to get on our email list to receive regular quarterly or semi-annual updates on our activities and proposed activities.
Okay.
And then gradually, if we got enough email names, we could transition to low-cost email versus expensive mailings.
Okay.
My sample is invisible, so.
Is the chairman get special treatment?
Yeah.
He's the only one got a
I
copy.
see that.
It's in your email.
Does it have that they can come to this event and this meeting event?
Yep, so we have meeting information listed here.
So that they are allowed to come and talk freely and, okay.
And we could even include more specific language here. We're letting them know that the meetings happen at 5:30 at the first Wednesday of every month, unless otherwise noted. But we could have a specific call to action in there that says, join us.
Bring us your feedback.
Right.
I have one other request. If we're gonna put pictures in, I would like one from a few decades ago.
And does it include also they can watch it on YouTube?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so the streaming information at myclearwater.com will have links to you can watch live or attend the meeting.
Yeah, I think it was an excellent idea to put the map of the DDB on it so that it literally puts us on the map, to coin a phrase.
And then just a quick kind of update on your budget as well. I know that was an element that you wanted to highlight for folks, letting them know the dollars that you have to work with and also where they go.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
I would just maybe, if we wanted to include for merchants or for like special event requests, here's like the link in the call to action, like in addition to their email address, if you're providing grants, here's where you can get additional information.
You can do that.
now, I don't think that if we send this out to 16,000 people that we're going to get 16,000 responses and fulfill our mailing list. So we'll probably have to repeat this and possibly with modifying it and putting some fresh information in it. So my idea is if it goes out and is successful to some degree, that some success would justify doing a second and third mailing later on this year and try to build that to a sizable list. So if we get a good response, if it looks viable, to repeat it and make it a really good list.
Sure, yeah, we can definitely do that. I think what's great about this is that this is a great informational sheet that we can use for a variety of purposes. We can swap out text here for call to actions for specific things. If you guys are going someplace where you want to bring flyers about the DDB, this can serve as that as well. So we can kind of create those evergreen flyers or info sheets that you could bring with you that we can have available at meetings here. We'll certainly have this up on our website. So we'll make this an available resource for folks.
Okay, and what was the person's name again that did this?
Emily Johnson designed this with the
Emily
Public
Johnson.
Communications Department, yeah.
Thank you, Emily.
Yeah.
Very
Thank
well
you,
done.
Emily, yeah.
Okay.
Quick question, I know we do have like a mailing list. It's also gonna go out electronically?
We'll probably include this in the CRA's monthly newsletter that goes out, and we can include it in kind of regular updates that we do. But the mailing list would go to residents and property owners that we have access to from the county.
Great.
Same as your voter registration forms and we send out to everybody.
If we have input ideas, do we send them to you?
Yes.
Okay.
And for the, one of the questions you wanted answered was about including a cover or introductory letter. If you would like to suggest something,
Sure, we can.
and if any, and maybe float it by the board, and see if anybody on the board has any suggestions on what kind of content would go in there that they
Sure.
would want to see.
If we were to do a cover letter for this, it would just be kind of general information, kind of reiterating what you see in the flyer here. But it would be short and sweet, potentially 3 to 4 paragraphs, but I can draft that for you and have it for your review as well. Yeah.
That'd be great. And then we could, do we want to get a consensus here on whether we want to send a cover letter or not? What is the feeling?
Sounds good, if it's,
And you're going in the utility, isn't it?
No, this would go
This
just
is a
directly
separate
through, it's a
mailing.
separate mailing, right?
It wouldn't cost additional postage, it would just.
No,
put
it would still be within the $5,000 limit.
I think it's,
does it mention that, do they know they're paying this tax?
We can use the cover letter as a point to reiterate for our property owners, yes.
Where
Yeah.
just.
It does
where your
indicate
tax dollars
where,
go?
yeah, it does indicate where the DDB receives its funding from.
Shahab, there's a bullet here that says, where does the DDB's funding come from? And it describes it right there.
Yeah, but getting their attention that you are paying for this
Yeah,
makes
it-
a big difference. It involves, it will invite basically more
Participation.
participation.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, excellent
I'm
point.
curious, how many people, do we keep a tally how many people visit that part of the city site?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. I can make an inquiry to our city's IT team.
That'd be good to know, because if we have that, then we can, one way or another, introduce people in that how you can capture someone's email. It's usually online. It's tough to get someone on a piece of paper, write down the email and hand it to you, as opposed to, or call you, say, hey, here's my email. It's online, and you say, hey, register here, receive, where your tax dollars go, or something like that to get their attention.
And so we'd include in this for, if we wanted to be capturing folks' emails, we'll include a link to a specific platform that they can use to just one click away, and then they're subscribed. And
If we know how many people arrive, then we can actually figure out how we can get them to that page. Right, thank you.
Great.
This is awesome.
all right, I have enough to move forward, so I will draft a cover letter and get started on the next draft.
Excellent,
Did
thank
we
you.
talk about adding pictures? Did we talk about adding little pictures on each person's name?
We didn't talk about it, but we can talk about it. Is that something you'd like to have?
I don't know, I just think it would make, like, more, an introduction.
Personable?
To each, more personal, yeah.
Okay.
Just an idea, if it doesn't make it too crowded.
Okay, well, we would probably collect photos or headshots of each of you, so that'll be the next correspondence for me to gather those materials from you.
From the election.
Yeah.
Which we should, yeah, okay, then yeah.
To make sure they're the right size.
We can use Keenan's picture of all of us.
That'll scare them away.
Okay, this is great, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you very much. Okay, next item, 5.2, Equity Committee updates. Caitlin, you have,
Not much to report since my last meeting. We're still working, I believe, and Rosemary's, we've been working with IT, and I think we're still waiting for them, right? to figure out the best way to create that webinar, I think is our most recent that we're working with IT on that.
Yes.
So that's kind of the threshold. Once we have that, we can have our umbrella meeting, and then from there, kind of develop the various ideas for the different subsects. So I don't have much of an update from our last meeting, other than we're still working with IT.
Well, we do actually have the authorization to use the city's Zoom account to run these webinars, so yeah.
So then the next meeting, I will be giving you a date of when this will be occurring, or telling you how successful it was.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, CRA updates 5.3.
Okay, just a few, I'm sorry that, Ddb isn't here, but his request worked, and the railroad has started working on the railroad crossings. That almost never happens, but it was that close together in time. So, you've seen that, those are ongoing. And the city's put out a couple press releases about the timeframes and locations for that, which if you aren't seeing those, just ping me, forward them to you.
It's looking done now, isn't it?
Some
The
are,
barriers have
some
come
aren't.
down.
Laura is not done yet. Laura
Oh,
in
okay.
East is not done yet.
Oh,
It
okay.
is on the schedule,
Mhm.
but as I told you in that one meeting, CSX isn't the greatest partner in this process. And they closed off some neighborhoods. We got a fairly good reaction, not a positive one, from some of the areas that were really cut off. And I'm sure all of you experienced the difficulties
They didn't make it easy.
downtown. So
Yeah.
fortunately, most of them have been reopened, but Laura is still not complete.
Were the repairs done in response to our request, or were they already scheduled? They were already planning to do it. So it's not like they were being attentive to our needs.
Yeah, they're happening in Oldsmar also.
No casualties.
If there are, we haven't found them. They're still in a hole.
Okay.
It was a coincidence, but we'll take those. As the mayor had mentioned, we're in early conversations with Florida Orchestra about doing different concert series in Station Square, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully we'll, really appreciate Jazz Holiday kind of being our pilot project and proving what a good space it is for live music. And as, board member Jamo had mentioned, Station Square, it's tough. I mean, it is a really tough space to activate from an urban design standpoint. So it's nice that something's working there, and we're going to keep investing in that route of getting, distance live music there throughout the year. You will note in the CRA meeting in February, we're going to be talking about 3 new business assistance programs and getting feedback on those. Right now, what I think of as small, medium, and large. The small being more kind of cosmetic issues, painting, awnings, signage, small amounts of doors and windows, $25,000 or less. Really dealing with something, it might not rise to the level of codes enforcement, but it's ugly. Right, and it's just something that needs to be improved, right, to improve the appearance of properties in the CRA. And then the medium term would be more like the build out that happened for Second Century Studios. So that was a raw space, and it took about $60,000 to get your basic HVAC, 2 ADA bathrooms and water fountains, finished concrete floor, right, just to make that space usable for any kind of pop-up uses or a retail space, not restaurant, right, just for people to be in that space. And then a larger one, which would be projects that are more in the $500,000 range, that would be for significant renovations or significant build outs for traffic, pedestrian traffic generating uses. So we'll keep you in the loop with that, because we always like to partner, right, in how we're directing our funding, but just know that, there's a big focus on reduction of vacancy right now, and we're really trying to unlock how that can occur in downtown. And many of our buildings in downtown need a lot of money to be able to be just even baseline occupiable. So it's a big challenge, but we're going to keep working towards that. There will also be brief presentations at the CRA meeting from Paris will represent the Ddb. We'll have DCMA, Amplify Clearwater, and the Clearwater Downtown Partnership. Another important part of the series 2-year strategy is capacity building for different organizations in downtown. So in February, we're looking at the ones that really help out businesses and serve as a voice for the business community. Where are their activities the same? Where are they different? How do they differ in size and their leadership structure? And what role do they see themselves playing in downtown revitalization? And DDB is a funder, CRA is a funder, right? We need to have an understanding of where we can contribute to that landscape and make sure that we're all working together, right, towards a common goal. And to that end, the CRA is going to be partnering with the Parks and Recreation Department. Right now, we're soliciting quotes to bring in a consultant potentially to help with the formation of a conservancy for the waterfront park. So this is very early conversation, but I would, the DDB ultimately will be a part of this conversation, right, about the waterfront park. So, what's needed, how should it be managed, what role does each organization have to play? It's going to be expensive because it's going to be really nice. So we need to make sure we get other funders to the table to help, pay for some of these improvements. We need to make sure our community is engaged in the programming of the park, right? So everybody's invested in what happens in the waterfront. So that's also going to be a large conversation that's going to be happening this year. And last but not least, we're in the early stages of a partnership with Clyde Butcher, who's a really famous photographer. He does black and white photography of kind of like Ansel Adams. I think some of his most famous work has been in the Everglades, but he's also done other American landscapes. And this year, coming up, is the 75th anniversary of the National Park in the Everglades, and we're going to be bringing that show to downtown. We're not quite sure where yet. His photographs are extremely large. Like, think of 3 of these TVs together. So we will need to find a space. We'll need lots of partners, right, to help benefit from this and to help pull it off. So also stay tuned for that. But that's a really important project for us to bring something, new, well-renowned. He just published a book on his Everglades work, and he hasn't done a book signing yet, and they've committed to us that we could be the first book signing. And he's a photographer that pulls people internationally.
What's his name?
Clyde Butcher. I'll send you guys a link of the work. So that's exciting news. We look forward to, it's one of those things that it's great, and you're like, oh, what have we done? We've got to make this work now. Okay.
That is exciting. Art is always important. Okay, that's the update? Okay, so then we'll move on to the chairman's report. It will be very short. And basically, we're still all hopefully staying safe and staying well. And I wish that would all continue for all of you and for our community, and we can get back to regular business at the earliest possible time. Now we'll move on to board members to be heard, starting on my left.
I've been liking the crowd coming downtown and seeing people I've never seen before walking around, and it's starting to become enjoyable. I can foresee it getting and growing because there's really no place to go if you want to show off your car or a new outfit you got on or just to meet people. So I'm pretty happy.
Great. Just a little, just give you a little data before I mention my thought. I knew in a million years never thought Buccaneers will make it to Super Bowl. That is a venue that is well advertised, promoted. If we figure out a way, maybe next year, we could set up a space for invite people or a large crowd. Hopefully there won't be any of this COVID stuff. We can actually show on the large screens and have people, and then the restaurants definitely would be selling food and drinks and all that. It'd be not a bad idea if we figured out, explore that somehow, that we can promote downtown as someplace for people to show up to watch the game.
Great idea.
Yes, great meeting. Just have a quick question for Amanda. Just, I know you have this month a seminar for opportunity zones this month. Just can you remind me what date that is, or you have, we have something to do with opportunity zones this month to talk about it and how it can benefit the city to make use of the opportunity zones. You said something for February we're gonna have.
You're asking if we're having a program in
Yeah,
February?
yes, I just wanted the date for
We
that.
don't have the date.
No, not yet, okay. But is it gonna be this month still?
Yes,
Okay,
probably the last week of this month.
okay, awesome, thank you, thank you.
With where we're at right now.
Okay, thank you.
I had the opportunity to sit in with Amanda on a Zoom call with a bunch of people that were way more qualified than I to discuss art for downtown on buildings. And the process actually ran pretty smooth. I was shocked based on the variance of viewpoints that were on who liked which artist to cull it down. So it was fascinating, and I wanted to thank Amanda for bringing more art to the town.
Don't really have anything to add other than stay well.
Well, this is my second meeting, and I'm very happy to be here with you all. And I wanted to thank the staff, because I think you guys are terrific. Whenever there's any kind of question, you're there for us. So for me, I really appreciate that. Thank you. And it's very nice to be here.
Excellent. Mr. Mayor.
I want to thank you all, as always, for everything that you're doing and supporting everything in downtown. I did have a meeting earlier today with a developer that I had never met with before, but is going to probably respond to the RFP, which is exciting. Those aren't due back until, I believe, April 12th. But this is a new name with a great reputation, so I found that to be really exciting. To the opportunity zone question, at our next CRA meeting, I am going to ask our council to take a position to talk to our senators and congressmen and ask that they extend the opportunity zone legislation an additional year, because I think we've really had a lost year. And it's a shame, because the goal obviously is to get money to pour into these opportunity zones. And as we all know, everything's been delayed. So I would love to see you all take a position on that at your next meeting. The more people that are pushing more organizations and groups with our legislators, then they start to hear people cry out. I'm also going to ask the U.S. Conference of Mayors to support that as well.
Great idea.
Very good. Can someone make a note to add that to our agenda? Great.
Great idea.
Very good. Final comment?
I'd like to thank Ted Reinhardt for coming here and introducing himself and talking about his new business, which I believe will draw a lot of people downtown and a lot of young folks as well, and bring some activity down there. Thank you.
Okay, I would just like to make one comment, a final comment about that particular group. Lest anybody be deceived, it's not a new business. It's basically a front for a bigoted hate group. I've already had tours coming by my store where my name is called out and I'm being defamed. My store is being pointed out as a target. It's happened twice already. This is basically a front for an anti-Scientology group. So let's just, all the smiles and friendly stuff, it's a front. Please don't be deceived. No, you don't have permission to respond. But I just wanted to say, please don't be deceived by the apparent friendliness. That's not what this is about. This is strictly a bigoted hate group trying to promote divisiveness in our downtown. And that's all I have to say about it. At 6:39, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.